All right. Good afternoon, folks. This is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. And we're here because Sarah Boone, as she sits in jail, probably smarting at the fact that she was just sentenced to life in prison, has written a love letter to the judge in this case. And I'm going to go over it because I've been asked to do that. I wasn't going to because it's been covered on a number of other platforms, but you know, I've been covering this case for a long time and I don't want to miss out on this letter. And so I'm reading it. So how about that? How about that? How's that for a Merry Christmas? Oh, and by the way, hey, Dominic, I'm letting everybody know that we have set a goal for the first time in Tilted Lawyer history. We have a super chat goal. You will see at the top of the top chats or chat box, whatever that is, there is a goal. Right now it says 0 of 30. What does that mean? If we get 30 super chats, tomorrow we're going to be doing our Christmas live stream. I'm going to be doing the Death Nut Challenge with my brother Miguel. He's already in. If we get 30, Dominic's going to be doing it with us. And if you don't know what that is, it's literally eating the hottest peanuts known to man, made with all of the hottest chili peppers, including 16 million capsaicin crystals to make it hot for no reason. We're going to do the challenge and we're going to do it live tomorrow night on our Christmas stream episode. So if we manage to get to 30, Dominic is in. If we don't, well, I guess he's off the hook. So we're going to see how that goes. We're going to see how much people want to see Dominic suffer. Also, when you do that, it contributes to Dominic's salary. This is like his only source of income. He's a very poor boy. his main source of income is producer of the Tilted Lawyer podcast show. Well, I hope that's not the case, but you're helping out Dominic in a number of different ways and maybe watching him squirm a little bit. I was going to say like the reward could be like Dominic is going to post a selfie of him doing squats or something, but no. You know, I texted Dominic earlier today, just like to ask him a question or tell him something. And he's like, hey, I'm in the shower. What's up? And I'm like, why did you even need to say that? Like, why didn't you just say it?
It's because he called me and I declined it. And I wanted to let him know why I wasn't able to answer. So I told him like, hey, I'm in the shower. I can't answer.
The correct response is, hey, I'll call you in 5. It's like, all right. But you had to, I'm just so you know, I'm in the shower and I'm all sudsy from the soap that I've dropped on purpose as I'm glistening with the droplets of shower water. What the fuck, dude? Uh-oh. Oh, Jennifer with the 7 wants to see Dominic suffer. Well, there's 1 of 30. You got like an hour before this becomes a thing. And just so you know, I've already made the purchase. I'm not going to dox myself, but I'm just going to show people what I just purchased. And this is what we're going to be doing. It's going to be, I got to stop doing that and share this. Just so you know, Dominic, this is what it is. Death Nut 3.0. And there's like a video of people doing it, I guess. Oh, you ever heard of this guy, Chase the Heat?
Right. No.
You're letting me know right now what?
That I can handle spice. I don't know if you've tried Buffalo Wild Wings, like the hottest wings they have. I've done that.
Oh, that's baby stuff, dude. That is baby stuff.
A lot of hot stuff. So
you forget that you and I share the same DNA. And so just know, these are all reaction videos of people doing the Death Nut Challenge. If you're curious about what it is, there's 5 unique levels that are progressively hotter with a load of the world's spiciest peppers, all small batch and handcrafted to ensure consistency and quality, similar to a single tiny little nitro gummy. Now, I've never had a nitro gummy, but I have done the Death Nut Challenge 2.0 with my brother Miguel, who's going to be at my house tomorrow to do this. And he couldn't make it past level 3. He made it. He got to level 3. He accidentally touched his eye. And then he said, I'm out. He tapped out and then he vomited. And then he was suffering and miserable for the rest of the night. It was a couple years ago during a Christmas party that we had. And so he's back for a rematch. So if you want to see Dominic do the same thing, and he's talking a lot of shit. So guys, get us to 30, man. I got to see him do this. He's talking a lot of shit. It's like, okay, all right. We'll see we will see. We will see. Should I get to this letter? Let's get to this letter. Folks, feel free to interrupt me at any time with super chats for the Dominic thing. I'm going to be going over what Boone had to say. There's no chance that you clicked on this live stream not knowing about the Sarah Boone case, the famous suit case. Pam says, get on the train, snacks and beverages not included. Yeah, dude, so that is the rule. So the rule is you're not supposed to have or consume any beverage during the 5 stages, right? And then at the end of stage 5, there's like a 5-minute burn off is what they call it. But the way me and my brother have always done it is whoever drinks their beverage first is the loser. And so we've tried this with various other things. Death Nut Challenge 2.0, he tapped out on level 3. So I am the reigning champ. And now Dominic is 28 super chats away from joining the competition pool. We will see. Just so you know, Dominic, those peanuts aren't no joke, man. You're going to be, I hope we get there. Let's just say that. Okay, let me share this Boone letter with all of you. Let's see what she has to say from the comfort of her jail cell. She was recently convicted and sentenced to life in prison for what she called was an accident, what the DA called was a depraved act of humanity, was found guilty of second-degree murder for murdering her husband by unceremoniously locking him in his suitcase, where he suffocated to death as she slept in the upstairs bedroom. She did a lot of other things. I'm not going to rehash the trial. Judge Michael Cranic in the case has been universally praised for his level of... Oh, I'm hearing them super chats, Dominic. What's that? Where are we at? 3? Stephanie, what time is the Christmas live? We're thinking 8 p.m. Pacific time, and you're gonna want to join on that one, because aside from the Death Nut Challenge, there's going to be shenanigans. There's going to be... I'm thinking about doing an episode of Flad live at my house during a Christmas party. I'm debating about how that's going to go. So you're going to see me in my house. My kids are going to be running around, presumably. I'm going to make my world famous alcoholic beverage, eggnog. Maybe I'll do that on live. We're going to be decorating gingerbread cookies. When the kids go to bed, we'll do Flad. My mom will be there. My brother's going to be there. Dominic's going to be there. He's going to be coming to my house for the first time ever. That'll be cool. And maybe we'll have some tamales or something. I don't know. I'm starting to build it up more than it needs to be. We're going to have food and refreshments and beverages. Stephanie, if you're in the area, you're invited. All of you, if you're in the area and you wanted to drop by, you're invited. Actually, check that. I did not get permission to start inviting people like that. But definitely show up to the YouTube live, because we're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to celebrate Christmas. Because you know what? It's been kind of a weird holiday. There's just so many things that are going on in our circle of friends, especially the subscribers to my channel. Many of you are invested in or have been called the JFC cult community, whatever. A lot of my friends have been attacked. I've even caught wind that there's people out there saying things that I have said and trying to represent things that I have said, which is fundamentally incorrect. And so at the end of this, by the way, I'm going to give an update as to all of that. Miss Lauren Neideigh, who is a very special friend of mine, I have some encouraging words for her and the community at large with all the things that are going on. I saw her struggling on her stream, and she was getting emotional, and just behind the scenes, it's getting ugly, and it's the holidays. And, people have a hard time during the holidays. People have various reasons for why they're sad or they get depressed. Even myself, down in the dumps. For what, man? It's like it's Christmas. It's like the happiest time of year. You got your kids, you got your health, you got your family, you got everything. What's there to be upset about, man? And so I'm trying to curry more holiday cheer by virtue of Dominic participating in the Death Nut Challenge. Are we at 3? Are we still at 3? From the way that it's looking, it looks like you might be safe, Dominic. I'm just going to let you know. If you're off the hook, you're off the hook. But if we hit 30, you're in, buddy. All right. So back to Sarah Boone. She says, and this is in her handwriting, I have not read this letter. I haven't seen a transcript of it. This is literally what she filed. It says received from the judge. So she filed this and wrote this letter to him. I have heard that she plagiarized much of the sentencing speech soliloquy that she went on, which was by far and away the worst sentencing testimonial I've ever heard from a defendant that was seriously trying to persuade the judge to be lenient with them. I mean, because some people go, there's, fuck you, I did it, whatever. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a defendant that was genuinely trying to persuade the judge for the lightest possible sentence. Her message, what I took from all of that, the edited version of that, was basically, I forgive you all, so forgive me. That was what I got from it. I don't know what Sarah Boone's deal is. You'll notice the thumbnail of this video was of her as a teenager, I believe. She was on a show on Nickelodeon, probably back in the 80s or 90s. I don't know. But she was once a young girl with a bright, promising future. She probably, she was a kid. And she grew up to become what she became. And so when I read this letter, I read that with the image of her as a child in mind, as I try to give everybody that same benefit, because at the end of the day, all of you that are listening to this show, all of you that follow these cases, all of you that are going through things and are in your disputes and in your arguments with him and her and this and that, at the end of the day, you guys are somebody's child and you guys are just kids. Some of you had designs you wanted to be G.I. Joe or He-Man or Ninja Turtles or Barbie dollhouse or Skibbity toilets. You know, one of my Christmas gifts requests from my daughters, they want a Skibbity toilet. What the hell is a Skibbity toilet? I don't know. It's literally a toilet with a head coming out of it. It's like, okay, that's on the, so it made the Amazon shopping list. They wanted Minnie Mouse scooters or whatever. Hey, Dominic, what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a child?
I wanted to be like a, what do you call it, a cop, law
Well, you
enforcement.
still have that option. May I talk you out of that by, it's funny you mentioned that. I used to, hey, Pam with the 5 says, we may get there, but your friends on Eastern at 11 may be sleeping while you're partying at 8. I know, Pam, I know. It's just, if I'm going to be doing that kind of a show, I got to put the kids to bed. And so I'm starting it later. Otherwise, there's just adult things on that show that shouldn't be heard by children. And so it was between 6 and 8. I might do something earlier, like at 6 or 7, like the gingerbread cookie thing. That'll be cool. Dominic, you're going to have to get ready for a long day, buddy. It's going to be like I'm getting all the gingerbread ingredients for making gingerbread cookies. I'm making the dough tonight. I'm going to make the frosting tomorrow morning. It's going to be a long day. I'm already tired thinking about it. And then at the end of all of that, you're going to sample my world famous alcoholic eggnog for the adults. And we'll see. You'll meet some of the family. All of you are all welcome to join. And if you're in the area, and I know you personally, you're obviously invited, but most of the people that are watching the show are like on the East Coast or something, and or just too far away for it to make sense. So yeah, Pam, I may start it earlier, but if I do, the real festivities are going to come after 8 p.m. when the women and children are in bed appropriately. Okay. Let me continue. Where was I? Where did I leave off, Dominic? I was talking about you wanted to be a cop when you grew up. Why don't you go the detective route, man?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, was being like a detective.
It's funny. Before I became a lawyer, that's what I wanted to do. And I would have done that if I didn't score so effing high on the LSAT and have them offer me a scholarship to law school. It's like, fuck. All right, I'll just go and see if it If I flunk out, I flunk out, and I didn't flunk out. I was going to take the bar exam one time, and if I failed it, I was going to just go do something else. And I passed the effing thing. And so 11 years later, here I am, and I have a YouTube channel and everything. All right, so this judge is to Michael Cranic. I am in closing, please, my complete statement to you and the world. Oh, this is the unedited version. So she read this before on the sentencing, but her attorney edited it, said, you're not reading that shit on the sentencing stand. Now we're going to get to see the unedited version. I'm so excited about this. Let's see. To you and the world, as I partially read during my sentencing hearing, and I also heard that it was actually plagiarized, which is makes it 3 times weirder at least. So by my reserving particular parts of my very true and meaningful statement, I was hoping to have been graced with your forgiveness, understanding, and consideration in any level or degree. If I were editing that statement, it would say, Mr. Cranic, I apologize for every stupid thing I did and said in court. I apologize for everything I did. I cannot explain my actions. I was going through a rough patch. I can't take it back. Guys, I've done this a million times. But she's, again, starting from up here. And in a sentencing, when you're asking for forgiveness, you have to keep your feet on the ground. Matter of fact, keep your face to the ground and beg for forgiveness. This is what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're not here to hear you give us a speech and lecture us about forgiveness and grace and whatever else she wants to say. By the way, we just got another super chat. Where does that put us? Bethany with the 2. The Boone letter is crazy. Hey, could I edit we're at 4 out of 30. Could I edit this to see? It's only counting.
We should be at 6 out of 30 instead of 4.
I think what happened is it's only counting the teal super chats and up. But if we we'll just do the math. I think I just effed that up. I've never done this before.
I'm just gonna leave them all starred on StreamYard, so then it'll show like how much we got.
Yeah, and we will take the final tally. Thank you, Bethany, for the 2, and also you're contributing to Dominic's pain and his salary, coincidentally. So, all right. So she was hoping to have been graced. So for me, unfortunately, and regardless of when I had speak on my behalf, or the remember of your ignorant mind was already made up. Did she just say your ignorant mind? Dominic, are you reading this with me? Is that what you see? For me, unfortunately, and regardless of when I had speak on my behalf, whom I had speak on my behalf, or the number of your ignorant mind was already made up. Wow. Oh, that's gonna make the judge regret his decision, isn't it? By your clear error and full-blown unfair bias against me since your involvement in my crucible case as a whole, I have been unsuccessful in receiving anything from you or a supposed fair and neutral judge, except for your wish that I spend the rest of my life in prison. Oh, Sarah, that was not his wish. This judge was looking for any reason whatsoever to give you a lighter sentence. Dominic, you read that. Dominic, you might as well just stay live. I'm going to be asking you questions because I just am. You have been here when I did the whole sentencing thing on Sarah. What was your impression of her when she gave her speech to the judge, Judge Cranic? Were you here for that one? I did that one or no?
I don't think so, no.
God damn it, Dominic.
Yeah.
Never mind then. I'll do it myself. No, I just thought you were here on the one that I did. I don't know. She's saying that it was his wish that she spend the rest of her life in prison. My observation, and having watched many judges over the years, I think that the judge very poignantly admonished her at one point. if you reject this plea deal, the minimum sentence I could give you is 22 and a half years. The minimum. This one, they're offering you 15 years. And we did the math. Some of you were trying to correct me. No, she's going to do 85% of her sentence. No, the way that the plea deal was structured, she was going to get credit for 65 or get a discount on 35% of, she's only going to do 65% of the prescribed sentence. The sentence that she would have served would have been 5 3/4 years. The judge very pointedly said, if you really do this, the least I can do is 22 and a half years. I watched him at that sentencing hearing. He was very respectful even to the nutty witnesses that Sarah called on her behalf. And in his patience, I saw him, he was taking notes, he was writing things down, and I saw him very carefully looking at Sarah while she was delivering her speech. And I got the impression, if in this moment of her posturing for 4.5 years, where she has so defiantly represented herself in court, 4 attorneys withdrew from her, the other 4 asked to get off the case because of her behavior. She represented herself for a time. She's been disrespectful and combative with the judge for 4.5 years. I think he was just, at the end of this, all of this, wanting her to represent something resembling responsibility. And instead she says, I forgive all of you. That was her statement. So I disagree with her. Obviously I disagree. But this is what she says. So please know and always remember, Mr. Cranic, I forgive you. Oh my God. Still and sincerely, please understand also the judge, according to Cicero, is never to lose sight that he is simply a man and that he cannot exceed the power given to him by his commission, that not only power but public confidence has been given to him, that he ought always very seriously to attend not to his wishes but to the requisitions of law, of justice and religion. She's quoting Cluentus, Cicero pro Cluentus. What is this excerpt? Obviously, that was a quote from something. I can't tell what that is. I'm excited in my appeal, which speaks for itself. My case law as well, in which I am extremely proud to have achieved my case law, and will continue doing so now that I am no longer in your corrupt court and free from your malevolent judicial grip. I guess she's going to be quoting Sarah Boone versus State of Florida, or making it up. I also have added to my statement, as a result of your blindness and impartiality, foremost, your disgust in me as being an outspoken woman, determined defendant, and proactive client, hoping the next time you put on your listening ears and do not unfairly oppress the next as you have so blatantly done me. You know, in the early stages of this case, and I've been following it since it happened. In the early stages of this case, I felt like Cranic was unbelievably patient with Sarah. He was unbelievably, like, almost going out of his way to be fair to her and accommodate her and all of her her wishes and all of the statements that she would come out with and burst out with in court and open court, insulting her attorneys, making her weird arguments. The judge was very, congenial with her. And then I feels like in this paragraph, she's trying to make this like a feminism thing. He was only, he had an agenda because she's an outspoken, determined defendant, proactive client. But like Daryl Brooks, because that effing guy got the same sentence as her. It has nothing to do with feminism. It has nothing to do with her gender, outspokenness, determinedness, proactiveness. It has nothing to do with that. It's just that, when you're guilty of a crime, sometimes the best thing to do, lest you stick your foot any further up your ass, is to admit you're wrong and apologize and hope for the best. She had ample opportunity to do that over various different plea offers from the DA. The DA was not trying to give her life in this case. They offered her 15 years. I think even before that, they had offered her 10 years. She rejected that. If she had accepted the plea deal of 10 years, I forget when they'd offered that, but she'd basically almost be out by now. She had a plea offer of 10 years. She had another one of 15 years. She rejected them both because she's smarter than everybody. So there it is. Oh, by the way, I am not a murderer. I am a survivor. Signed, Sarah Boone. Just for the record. Black robe disease. Is that like an official term? I've actually never heard of that. I'm going to Google it and make sure that it's not something she's plagiarized. Black robe disease. I guess it is a thing. Black robe syndrome occurs when lawyers who have become judges believe that they have also become infallible thanks to the robe and being called your honor. All right. Fair enough. That was from something in March. So it's a legitimate term. I've never heard that before. I lost my place. Oh, so she says arrogance in a judge, a slang term for a judge who flaunts judicial power and dominates proceedings at the expense of the dispensation of justice. Interesting phraseology there. Impartiality is the first duty of a judge before he gives an opinion or sits in judgment in a cause. He ought to be certain and absolute that he has no bias for or against either of the parties. If he has any interest, even the, Dominic, what is this word? Even his flight.
Yeah, I can't read that.
Okay. Even the unintelligible, let's say that. In the cause, he is disqualified from sitting as a judge, and when aware of such interest, ought to lawfully and justly refuse to sit on a case. The delicacy which characterizes the judges in this country generally forbids them sitting in such a cause. The judge must not only be impartial, but must also follow and properly enforce the law, not abuse. He is beaned to declare. Bound. He is bound to declare what law is and not make it be not an arbitrator, but an interpreter of the law. It is their duty to be patient in the investigation of the case, understand circumstances and difficulties by all parties, careful in considering parts of a case in whole and dissent in judgment. Okay, well, that's one way. She's quoting Bower Law Dictionary. Bowery, 2012 edition? I should know what that word is. 2012 dictionary. Bowery? What is that? Bohas? I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. What I was going to say was this. When people are guilty, I've seen it's a fascinating thing to be a lawyer, because you spend your career engaging with these people that have gone through the worst moments of their life, and then their freedoms are being decided, and decisions are being made that are going to impact the rest of their life. It's a funny thing. Sometimes you get these criminal defendants. Sometimes you get these litigants that no matter what evidence is presented, they have invested their soul into this case. And you see this in other cases where people get unfavorable decisions in law. Think Laura Owens. She was found and adjudicated to be a liar, yet she's on this crusade to convince people otherwise, despite making admonitions. And what happens is you have, I said admonition, I meant admissions. You have, you become imprisoned if you're unable to face the consequences of what you did and honestly communicate with yourself the reality of your situation. You become imprisoned in your mind. Like these things that she's stating, she's been saying them for 4.5 years, and she's got life in prison. if you were to ask her 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 30 years from now, she would probably start going on this kind of a rant all over again. And it's a special kind of prison that you build for yourself internally that she's going to be confined to. And I see it. This is not unique to Sarah Boone. Oh, was that multiple super chats that we just got, Dominic? Where does that put us? Crystal White, $2. You're my favorite lawyer on YouTube. Thank you. Standing up for Lauren. Oh, yes, ma'am. Lauren she's such a sweetheart, man. She doesn't deserve what she's going through, and she doesn't deserve a lot of things. But I will stand by, with, and for Lauren Neideigh, for anybody that comes for her unfairly, the way that it's gone on. And I'll address some of that at the end of the show. I told her that I was going to do this. I was going back and forth, but I wanted to just clear the air on certain things with her. She doesn't deserve what she's getting. I also got some choice words for Gingras. I'm dead to him, so I guess that makes me the ghost of Christmas past. Or present? Or future? I guess he could decide what he wants to make me. It doesn't matter to me. But I certainly got words. By the way, I think that puts us up to 7. We need 23 more super chats for Dominic's participation in the Death Nut Challenge. I just purchased it. 16 million capsaicin units. He's talking a lot of shit, talking about, oh, I eat spicy food. And then his evidence of why he eats spicy food was, I eat the top level of spiciness at Buffalo Wild Wings. Like, sir, that is not the same thing. I don't even think you understand what you're in for, sir. I don't know. Kids these days, I guess we're going to find out. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to hold his composure, because if he does this challenge while we're live streaming, I'm going to be out like a whole producer. So we'll see. I'll have emergency services nearby. Anyway, so yeah, what strikes me about this letter is I can tell that Boone has built herself a prison inside of the prison that she is physically in. And she's going to be having these thoughts, and she's going to be arguing her innocence for the rest of her life. And that is a special prison that is just for her. Let me continue. But at the risk of practicing judicial synthesis, is that a word? Judicial synthesis. Does she mean criticism? Hey, Dominic. Dominic's making a sandwich.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to find. Someone said that there's a Reddit post that has the transcript, so I'm trying to find that.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's a better idea. If you could find that, because I'm like with this handwriting, Jesus.
Yeah.
That looks like synthesis. I don't know if that's a word or not. All right. Words have coined in this presentation. Others have called it black robe disease, whether he was correct or not in my behavior. It feels like she just pulled a bunch of, hey, Sherry Hartley with the 2. Just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you so much, Sherry. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you. I hope to see you in the live stream tomorrow. It's going to be a doozy. It feels like she's pulled and a bunch of quotes from random things, and she's just kind of mashing them together because she's repeating herself now a lot. Anyway, she's quoted Murray Reichel, the Simpson trial, the Stepson trial. 1996 was OJ. That must be the Simpson trial. I'm going to move on. All right. So, and then there is the worst of judicial ailments of black robe disease, which is otherwise known arrogance. I can't think of a single time where Cranic, in this case, displayed any measure of arrogance. He was harsh with both attorneys on both sides. He was fair and laser focused on the judicial arguments that were made, pertaining to case law and various things that came in and out of the trial. Arrogance is not the way that I would describe Judge Cranic. Matter of fact, I shared my thoughts in sentencing a couple of weeks ago that I thought that Cranic was particularly a human judge. He was empathetic. You can see that he's a good man. the wheels of justice were spinning in his head. He was really wanting to do what's fair in this case, trying to keep his subjectivities out of it. He remained objective throughout. I imagine he's the kind of guy that dresses up as Santa Claus for his grandkids. He's the kind of guy that probably plays a ukulele. He, salt of the earth kind of guy. There's nothing arrogant about that man. When it comes to selection of judges, you couldn't really do much better for him. But if you're just looking for the most favorable outcome, then, there's lots of crooked judges out there. But Cranic is not one. He was going to do I thought that he did a brilliant job in measuring this trial. He let in a lot of things that I didn't think he was going to let in, specifically because he was trying to preserve the fairness of this trial. And so I disagree with that. She has more quotes. Trial judges are affirmatively charged with securing a fair trial and must, all right, more with that. In the instant case, the trial judge did not analyze the evidence. He added to it, dealing with a mere mannerism of the accused. She's quoting a case from 1933. In giving his testimony, the judge put his own experience with all the weights that could be attached to it in the scale against the accused. And this is a federal case from 1933. I didn't see Cranic doing that. And he's not the one that analyzed the evidence. That was the judge. And he let in all of the bullshit she wanted to get in. So what's the deal? Now she's talking about kintsukuroi is a kind of Japanese ceramic style, which means to repair with gold. In this tradition, when a ceramic piece breaks, an artisan will fuse the pieces back together again using liquid gold or gold dust lacquer. So rather than being covered up, the breaks became more obvious and a brilliant new piece of art emerges from the brokenness. What in the F is she talking about? I can't even begin to analyze that. So the case was broken and they filled it in the gaps with gold. Does that mean it brought more attention to the cracks? Is that what she's saying? Or, Paul, what are we doing? This is just, when I used to be a writer, back when I had aspirations of being a writer, when I was working for this magazine called The Spotlight, way back in like 99, 2000, this hip hop magazine that's long since been defunct. I would often go into these like a long, open-minded rants and just write a bunch of stuff and just like erase 90% of it and keep the 10% that made sense. Because she's sitting in this jail cell, I feel like she's just kind of doing that free flow writing. I used to do it with my daughter. It was like this exercise. Like, okay, I'm going to write a paragraph and then you write a paragraph and then I'll write a paragraph and then we're going to write a story together. And your paragraph will be building on mine and I'll build off of yours and we're going to do this and make this co-writing thing. It's a really good exercise to do with your children if you're teaching them how to write. I could think of no better way. They don't want to learn punctuation. Just teach them how to process their thoughts and find their words and find their ideas and give credence and use your creativity to bolster their creativity so they could see what their thoughts and ideas could become and let them know that it's in there. There's genius inside of you. All you got to do is pull it out. Sit there with this notepad and just write on a pen, with a pen and paper, not on a laptop. There's something magical when you actually handwrite stuff out. I'm on a rant. I apologize. I'm just saying, it feels like she's doing that episode here or that exercise here in this letter. Pam with the 5 says, I will catch the replay if I missed the 8 p.m. men eating hot nuts challenge. Don't edit the puking or gag reflex gems out of the video. Oh, nothing's getting edited out of that show. We're doing it live and whatever happens, happens, man. And so, Dominic, if you cry real tears because of the pain, it's going to be on camera and everybody's going to know that you cried. I just want you to know. By the way, I think we're at 10 super chats now. Some of them aren't registering.
We're at 9 right now.
9.
Yeah.
We need 21 more super chats to get Dominic to participate in our eating hot nuts challenge. Okay. More of this. This is the wisdom of kintsukuroi. So she's copy and pasting this. In my wisdom and with all of my repairs then, now, and ongoing, God has been and will always be my artisan. All of my gold is forgiveness. This has held me together, made me shine brighter and overcome to damage caused by George Torres, the Torres family, the justice system, Judge Wooten and Cranic, Orange County Corrections Department, social media, scoundrel detectives, infamy, defamation, ongoing constitutional rights violations, second-degree murder forced into being pro se. Just as gold is very precious, forgiveness is invaluable. Sleep because I had to go to work or my son's field trip the next day. Did she skip something? I don't know. Looks like she skipped something. For ruining my deceased family's heirlooms, traditions, and keepsakes, my son's furniture, destroying the television we watched together. Or I guess she's talking about George now. For wrecking our townhome by breaking windows, punching holes in the walls and doors, vomiting his entire body into glass doors, kicking in my front and back door over and over and over. Lady, you locked him in a suitcase until he was dead. I mean, I just feel like if we're doing a balance of evils here, and the more that I've thought about the evidence in this case with the domestic violence stuff, I was at first very impressed by the injuries that she sustained, thinking that she must. It looks like somebody beat her ass.
Chat is saying the pages are out of order.
Oh, that makes more sense. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I can't do one. This is just how it was. Wow. Well, that is what it is. We'll just have to muddle through it. Damn it. I was going to make a point and now I've lost it. So I'm just going to move. Oh yeah. The DV stuff. The more that I think about the DV evidence in this case, the more it looks like, especially when I'm remembering the video of Torres speaking with the cops, where he's basically just like, she said, I did what? No, I didn't. What are you? That's not how it went down. It felt like a big put on, man. And he's probably been dealing with it for a long time. I don't know. It just looked like if he was guilty of abuse, and I'm sure at least once he probably put his hands on her, at least once, even if it's in defense. And I don't know who did what. It was mutual combat, probably a lot of the time with these folks. I just feel like what she's trying to demonize him and paint him to be is just not what it was. It's just not. It's not what it was. And so, to that degree, I don't want to say it angers me. It bothers me. It definitely bothers me that she's now sitting here and continuing to cast aspersions on his character for stuff that was never proven in court. This is her narrative of how it all went down, and it is what it is. For breaking or removing the locks from all the doors and sometimes the knobs altogether, so I had nowhere to feel safe. Inciting and biting the sacred space of my son's room where he beat me bloody on his bed. There really isn't like a typed out transcript, huh, Dominic?
No, I tried to find one, but I couldn't.
All right. So for terrorizing and threatening my blind and deaf dogs by having the gate open I built to keep them safe, telling me he hoped I'd find their bloated dead body in the pond or scrap their remains off the pavement, for kicking them off the bed and throwing. Gosh, this really sounds like a drunken rat, doesn't it? Doesn't it just like feel like somebody that just like had a little bit too much whiskey, and now you caught they've caught a wave of something and they're going with it, and there's nothing stopping her. She's just going for it. For what is this word? To make me unrecognizable to my son by breaking all the bones in my face. Come on, Sarah. All of the bones in your face were not broken. Like his brother Moises did to him after he kept seeing all the bruises. Here's page 2. This is her going back. She's forgiving people again. Forgiveness is not an attempt to change or forget who, what, or how you've lived through to be so gold, but an act of grace, humility. I don't want to read the gold stuff again. Withholding forgiveness denies your brilliance and adds even greater grief and deep heartache, irreparable cracks on top of the already that no one deserves, no matter the pain or disappointment, untruths of justice. She wanted those words underlined. No matter the pain of disappointment with or untruths of justice. It doesn't matter. As the more broken you are, even though now different than before, you've become more outstanding and more extraordinary. This isn't even coherent. I realize this isn't, these pages are out of order, but this is not even coherent in her thoughts. I don't know what she's on about. Above all, you let go of blame, misunderstandings, excuses, give up your anger, and cease from resentment. This is forgiveness. And when you forgive, you heal. And when you heal, you move forward. My gold begins with George Torres. And every time he slapped me, kicked, punched, spit on, raped, stabbed, choked, laughed at, pushed, pulled, dragged, whipped, tripped, stole from, lied, terrorized, threatened, humiliated, forced, degraded, made me cry every time he tried to end me, defeat, or destiny. I forgive George for beating me senseless, for trying to, from George. This goes to page 3, and then we read page 3 and page 4. Oh, you hear them super chats, Dominic? Hey, Lauren with the 5. Is this letter what happened because Sarah accidentally poured the gold on her ass crack? No, Lauren, I don't think that's what happened. And thanks for the visual, by the way. And thanks for the 5, contributing to Dominic's pain for tomorrow night. Lauren, I hope to see you on the live stream tomorrow for our Christmas show, for all of the shenanigans. Did I miss?
Yeah, we also have another one.
See if I can get that one from Zach. There we go. We have sinned and fallen short of the grace of Saint Sarah. Let us pray. Exactly. Exactly. She is a legend in her own mind, isn't she? I wonder if she thinks at this point, given that she has now been convicted of life, I wonder if she views herself as a martyr. Therefore, now this elevated religious figure that is to be respected and feared, I guess, or elevated. I don't know. Maybe. I feel like if you are genuinely narcissistic, I feel like that would be the direction you would go. Where else are you going to go? You're in prison. Now she's going to be Saint Sarah, the martyr, who gave her life in the name of domestic violence. Victims' rights, maybe she'll say. All right. She's talking about withholding forgiveness. This is page 2. This was page 4. From George beating me like all the times their father beat their mother. For all the drunken rages. Fist fights with so many neighbors when wandering into their apartment during hunting expeditions after I escaped. What the actual F? I'd like to have seen those fist fights, actually. When people start talking like that, something that is so logically bullshit, and they keep on going down that road, I don't know. It sets off immediate red flags that this person's probably mentally ill. Which I think that lots of people have come to that conclusion with Saint Sarah over here. For drowning me in liquor and wine because I didn't want to drink, causing me to urinate on myself. She is a grown lady. Hey, Dominic, when's the last time you pissed on yourself?
A while ago, actually.
Well, last night. Well, on my Japan trip.
I want to say maybe back in high school, like if that.
Oh, it wasn't like when you went to one of these gentlemanly establishments in Japan on your Japan trip?
No.
Oh, where she didn't want you to look in certain places because it would blow her cover? You know, my brother told me about going over there. He said, man, they have some of the most beautiful men I've ever seen. Anyway, for making me experience what it is to be sodomized, threatening to kill my friends and the neighbors when they checked on me to make sure I was alive and in one place. I've met a lot of 5'3" people in my life, and they're not usually the type to go threatening people's lives like that. George does not seem like the type of guy, having viewed him on video when he was drunk, to do those kinds of things. Maybe he is. I don't know. At this point, whatever Sarah is saying negative about him at this point, I can't give any credibility to it. It'd have to be independently verified by somebody else. Because at this point, what I am analyzing right now is the rantings of a mad saint who views herself a martyr, who is really smarting at the fact she did not get the leniency that she requested, that she did not win the trial that she thought she was going to win. She's pissed off. It'll die down. In a couple of years, she's still going to be upset, but she's going to have gained a little bit of weight. She's going to be adjusting to life in prison and the new realities of she's never getting out. And her appeal is bullshit, and it's not going to work out. I don't know. All I'm saying is, if Sarah Boone says it, I automatically think the opposite to be true. I've reached that point with her now. She says for threatening to burn down the townhouse and set my car on fire because I got a job. For holding me hostage on weekends. My son was supposed to come over by keeping my keys around his neck, my phone in his crotch, and a butcher knife stuck in the middle of the table as a warning not to ask anything or try to leave, for stabbing me this is in order. So for stabbing me in the leg and letting me call 911 after an ambulance or seek help. She did testify to that at least. I nearly bled to death while I concocted a lie to save him from being arrested. That was not in the medical evidence that was presented that I saw. There was nothing in there that said that she was about to die from bleeding to death. From destroying my phone with a hammer. All right, this is just, she's going on with these grievances. I don't want to keep reading. We're running out of time. By the way, folks, I have Family Law After Dark scheduled for 2:05. We're going to have to probably push that back to 3 just because it looks like we're going to have to. We'll see. For destroying my reputation and integrity for my M for murderer. Hey, Dominic, could you reschedule the FLAD for 3?
Yeah, I'll work on it right now.
All right, cool. And set up this string to filter out to that one at the conclusion of all of this.
Okay.
All right. For my M for murderer, scarlet letter. Oh, wait, this is interesting. For destroying my reputation and integrity. For my M for murderer, scarlet letter. Not letting me feel safe to live. Talk to other people. Spend time with my son. Have a job. Friendships. Simply go to the bathroom with the door closed, or go to sleep soundly or comfortably. Hey, Dominic, how many times have you ever desired to see the lady that you were courting use the restroom?
Probably never.
I feel like that's weird. Like, I feel like people that have those requests, like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, give the lady some privacy. And, like, why is that even a thing? That was, I don't know, man. That's just, that's a bit much.
Just fetish.
Is that? It definitely is a fetish. I'm just saying that I'm not even going to, you know what? I'm not talking about it. I forgive George for lying, for letting him go, or this is more forgiveness. She still forgives the Torres family, his mother, and foremost, also his 2 ex-wives and daughters, all for knowing who George was. I remind you guys that this was her intent to read all of this. We could probably tell which parts were edited out because just go back and look at the sentencing hearing and see what she didn't say on the stand that's in this letter. But her attorney took out like 12 pages of this, and we were wondering what could have possibly been in this letter, and it's bad. It's really bad. I mean, I don't know if the Cranic part was in it. That would have been weird. There's got to be some new stuff. But I guess from her own words, she's saying that this contains the entirety of the statement that she wanted to give. So it's in here in some degree. All of her siblings, including Farrell Torres, who is now on his way to prison for stabbing the mother of their baby in the side of her head. Is that true? Dominic, could you find out if that's true? If a Feral Torres is going to prison for murdering a kid or stabbing a baby, for everyone who knew what George was doing to me, sometimes reward or sometimes how and when, but all owed and enabled, allowed and enabled. Okay, I forgive them for caring too late. Jesus. I hope they all ask themselves while quiet and comfortable in bed at night the uneasy question. What could I have done to stop this from happening to both of them? And after all the times Sarah tried by asking for help from all of us and so many times, I got to say, Sarah Boone is older than me. But if I were her dad and she was going on like this, oh, I would let in her something fierce, not physically, with my words about the necessity of taking responsibility for your own actions.
Yeah,
you're blaming all of these. Oh, go for it. What's up?
It shows it is true, but it wasn't the baby; it was the baby's mom.
Oh, I see. Okay, so there's some truth to that. Interesting family. But yeah, I would lay into her about taking responsibility for her actions, for being the author of her own destiny, that when she feels the need to blame others for her position in lot of life, to turn inward, and all the speeches that you guys have all heard others say. But this is just such a childish rant that I would expect to hear from, like, my 5-year-old would argue like this. But she would be age appropriate, and then, you just got to redirect that energy to a better place that's more beneficial. But this is the equivalent of a 14-year-old writing a love letter to her mother who just grounded her or something, blaming every other person other than her for what she did. Lecturing them even. What could I have done to stop this from happening, as she asks? Ask yourself that question while you're laying in your bed, comfortable late at night. Another great contributor of my gold is social. I guess all right, I'm starting to see the logic. So she creates this illustration of the shattered pottery that is mended by gold. And the gold is supposed to highlight her cracks, but it's gold and so valuable. And anyway, this is what she's going with. And she's telling us what makes up her gold. The gold is social media with its greed, insensitivity, deception, obvious exploitation, and advantageous gain from my criminal case as a whole, and for sentencing me by anticipation as a result of ignorance, and have conjured and fabricated by the organized crime that is social media, which somebody ought to tell this lady about run-on sentences, which condemned me in the court of global public opinion since the beginning. I would disagree with her on that. Look, there's obviously people talk about the case and no one's going to apologize for that. Yeah, people are probably making money off this case and no one's apologizing for that either. It is the nature of man that we use the elements of man to progress forward. And if by virtue of that, people find a way to make money as a result, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how we do. People make money for doing good things. People make money for doing interesting things. Some people make money for doing bad things. There's no laws against it. But I think that when this first happened, I specifically, before I ever heard Sarah Boone speak openly in courts, I had a lot of sympathy for her. I didn't think that she was guilty at first. There's this quirk in Florida law that intent did not need to be proven to gain a conviction of second-degree murder. Now, in California, you do have to prove intent. I didn't initially see intent being a thing in this case, but in Florida, you just have to prove that she did some kind of depraved act with no regard for the life of the victim, basically. That was the crux of it. But I had sympathized with her insofar as they were screwing around on a Sunday afternoon. They got a little sauced. And I don't think she meant to kill the guy. She was drunk off her ass. Maybe she blacked out after she made that recording, went upstairs, fell asleep, and 11 hours later, the guy was dead. As ridiculous as that sounds, it didn't sound like she did it on purpose. And when she was interrogated by police, it genuinely seemed to me like she didn't remember making that recording, knew that it existed. And so I had a measure of sympathy for her. I didn't think that she should be going to prison for life at that time. At that time, I was arguing that maybe an appropriate sentence would be something like 5 years, 6 years, or something like that. 4 to 10 years, something in that, however it played out, whatever. But it would have been based or premised on this idea that she'd take responsibility for her negligent action. She didn't mean to do it. She's abundantly sorry. Didn't mean all these other things. I had no idea that this was in this lady. So that is what it is. At first, and I feel like it was split. There's some people that did want to, nail her to the cross. There was others that wanted to look at it more methodically and let the evidence speak for itself. I was one of those, and that just needed more facts. Now we got all the facts, and she got what she got. So, but you can't expect her to have a fair assessment of anybody viewing this case, especially now. So whatever to that. My family law case is the new prey, waiting to be picked apart and pillaged. I actually had no idea there was a family law case, and I had no intention of covering it. From me being made infamous by social media in my criminal case, it simply seems I cannot forgive and be forgiven and move forward. Social media has made me a pariah. It has caused great oppression and undeniable disadvantages, especially in broadcasting and manipulating my cases online. In my criminal case, as a result, my opportunities to be given a fair, proper, and uninfluenced, successful conclusion was heavily depleted and poisoned. I forgive them. Also, all the media tycoons for not having a life of their own, trying to desperately to make themselves seem so right by making me appear so wrong. Forgiveness for prejudgments, ridiculous theatrics, lies, making and taking blood money from my other she has a writing flaw. She doesn't know how to end sentences. And she feels like every conceivable way that she could describe a situation, she has to get them all down on paper. When Hemingway very famously said that brevity is the soul of wit. Hemingway said there's this famous story where he's out at a bar and he was talking about this brevity is the soul of wit idea. And then he told his buddy, as they were drinking over whiskey, that I can write a full on story, complete with beginning, middle, and end, and tragedy in one sentence. And the guy's like, bullshit. Hemingway's like, hold my whiskey. And then what he proceeded to write was, baby shoes for sale, never worn, period. They put money on it. And then the guy handed him, I was like, son of a bitch, he did it. That was it. He said so much in those 6 words. And it was 6 words that would cause you to go back and to create the story in your head. And that is the mark of a brilliant genius level writer, the ability to, in as few words as possible, take these incredible complex ideas that highlights humanity or ideas or emotions or whatever, and have the reader make them their own. All the writer is at the end of the day is the director of traffic, the traffic of your mind. And with those 6 words, he was able to take his friend on a journey whereby a young couple was pregnant with the baby. And in the course of that pregnancy, they were expecting it to happen and they were all excited and they were getting the room ready and buying clothes, and they bought baby shoes and baby clothes, and they probably built a crib and they probably did all these things. They probably had a gender reveal, but something happened and the baby was not born. The baby was never ascertained. And the tragedy in that is all of their hopes and dreams gone, vanquished, and now trying to pick up the pieces. They're trying to find a way to rid themselves of the tragedy. All of that encompassed in baby shoes for sale, never worn. That's it. That's writing. That's writing. Sarah Boone doesn't have it. in case you were wondering. What she has is a very fundamental flaw in writing that's usually encompassed in 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. But that's a different topic for a different day. Did I read this already? Yeah, we read that part. Even after all that's been said and theorized, hypothesized, scrutinized, and blasphemed, in my case, still no one knows me. Oh, they're getting to know you, Sarah. My gold also runs deep for my prior attorneys, Mauricio Padilla, who sold me the world with empty promises, then abandoned his responsibilities as my attorney after taking 2.5 years of my life. She did have an attorney for 2.5 years, and he did do that. He abandoned the case after 2.5 years, probably because of lack of payment. When finally realizing he was over his head, all while hoarding JAC, I don't know what this word is, dollars to free his
Declared, I think.
Declare? Oh, declares to fund his staycation with his family, all while hoarding JAC. I can't. He used money for a staycation in Miami, for having resources ready and available. Get out of here with that. I can't. I forgive Frank Bankowitz for committing perjury to the judge and on court record about my attempts to be a proactive dependent and client, inquiring about my discovery, then trying to communicate with no answers or correspondence in any manner for 1 full year and 2 months before I was able to finally meet with him in the courtroom, only to receive his motion to withdraw. Frank Bankowitz is forgiven for his greed in taking $15,000 from the JAC, who honorably aid indigent defendants as myself, for taking advantage of and robbing the justice system by lying and avoiding clients, taking their money and the JACs. JACs, what does that stand for, Dominic?
I have no idea.
I am going to look it up. By the way, I think that we're like 18 super chats away from you having to do the Death Nut Challenge. But it's starting to lose a little bit of steam. Maybe people don't want to see you squirm like that. JAC meaning. I just want you to know that if we don't get to 30 super chats and you still don't do the Death Nut Challenge, that kind of makes you a bitch.
No, the condition was it has to be 30 super chats.
That is the condition. That is the condition. But you can't. But for you to use that loophole, I'm just saying, if you don't do it on account of that, and we're doing it, and you're out, then this kind of makes you gay. I'm just wondering, just in full disclosure. Florida, JAC. Oh, Juvenile Assessment Center. That's what it is. Juvenile Assessment Center. Okay, let me continue. We have 11 super chats so far, so we need 19 more to get Dominic to participate. There's another one. Eat my nuts, Dom. Lauren's ready for it. She will teabag your ass. You could do the Lauren, if she was local, she should come over and like teabag Dominic with the death nuts. 16 million capsaicin. Just be careful with them things. Fully clothed, of course. I don't mean to imply anything unsavory. Okay. Here we go. So she's talking about she's talking about Winston Hobson receives my forgiveness, who also unethically perjured himself to the judge. She's going to say all of her lawyers perjured themselves when they were saying that Boone was acting like a maniac. Cool. So to the judge and on court record about all the progress and attorney work he did in my case for the 2 months he was court appointed, as for his allegations of my supposed unethical request, which meant me asking about my discovery and trying to have him file a motion for my lawful inclusion to my pretrial conferences. And Jesus, this lady's sentences, man. Mud record with the 5. Happy Festivus. Sarah is airing out the grievances a bit early. A little bit. A little bit. I mean, well, I don't know if it's early or late at this point. Dom, just eat the hot nuts. Says Stephanie. By the way, we're halfway there. We're halfway there. Sarah Dow says, I had to come through the super chat to prove that not all Sarahs are asshole. Sarah, you are a well-known non-asshole Sarah, for sure. You're one of my favorites, actually. Jules with the 2. Hot Nuts, just joining for the fun and the gig. 14 more, folks. Dominic, we got 16 super chats, man. 16 of the 30 that we need. So you might just want to start eating jalapenos or something, man. You got to condition yourself because these things are no joke. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. I'm doing them with you. I'm doing them with you. My brother's doing them. I'm just saying you're not going to see me do any of that shit. I am the death nut champ, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm just saying I'm pretty confident, although I have not been preparing.
I feel like you're probably going to cry the most. I don't know.
The last time we did it, my brother literally cried. He says, "Oh, I accidentally touched my eye." It's like, what would you touch your eye for? And then he went in the backyard because he was throwing up, and then he was in the restroom for the rest of the night. He didn't. I didn't do any of those things. So I don't know. If I do, it'll be on camera, and so all the more motivation for me to not shed tears. So we will see. We'll see. I'm talking a lot of shit, man. I got to back it up. But you also were talking shit earlier, and it looks like people want to see you back it up. So we'll see. Anyway, Winston Hobson has been accused of perjury by Sarah Boone. What do you think of that? Trying to have him file a motion. Oh, we read that part. Is that 17 super chats? Lauren Neideigh. Omar will cry the most. Then he will eat the nuts. I will cry tears of joy at my victory. That's what I will do. Rule 3.22001. I wanted to be included in my case and no progress from being excluded by, what is that? Rule 3.2201? Let me look it up. Rule 3.22001. 3.22001. That rule is Florida rule of criminal procedure requires a prosecutor to provide a written discovery exhibit to the defendant within 15 days of the notice of discovery being served. They had given her multiple exhibit lists. What is she talking about? List of all known witnesses, materials, the defendant can inspect, copy, test, photograph. Yeah, that was provided to Oliver. I don't know what she's on about. Weird that she remembers that, though. Over 3 years prior forgiveness, also in telling he would return in a week with my discovery, only to receive his motion. Gosh, if I was her attorney, man, I would have said, oh, let me read that. I'm just going to review it for errors. I would take it, and then I would take it with me. It's like, here, not reading that. I'm willing to bet that she might try to recreate it if I were to do such a thing. I'd have to do it right before the hearing. I don't know. She'd probably like raise a stink with the judge and my lawyer took my statement. This is bullshit. Yeah, I probably couldn't do that. It'd be an appealable issue. Maybe ineffective assistance of counsel. Arguably, that's what she would say. But gosh, this is insane. So continued forgiveness in his greed and selfish intentions, also for robbing the JAC and indigent defendants of $15,000 more for nothing, justifying any work to really did do in the handful of days he represented me as my attorney, couple of months. So finally, with all my gold received from this one, I forgive Patricia Cashman for her mean, snotty, egotistical attitude and not listening or caring that I finally received my discovery. All right, so she was wanting to air discovery grievances in her sentencing hearing. Yeah, good idea to edit that out. Patricia Cashman is also forgiven for admitting. Is this out of order again? Page 10. Yeah, no, it's not out of order. Page 11. I had a right to a bond I asked her for so I could actually utilize one of my rights as opposed to having them always violated as prior and still ongoing. Then her deference or deterrence of all my opportunities to do so. Folks, I feel guilty reading this because it's so incoherent. I'm having trouble following it as I'm reading it. But I feel like there's no other way to do this particular show for Sarah Boone than to read her nonsense. And by the way, we are 19 super chats in. We need 11 more. Miguel for the recorded Omar. I'm the Eining. I'm Diening. What are you saying, Miguel?
Reigning champ.
I know what he's trying to say. So by the way, this whole thing came about because myself and Miguel, we had these world's spiciest chocolate or something, and it was like the world's spiciest chip. We did that challenge at my house a day after his wedding or a week after his wedding. And we did that. And then it was the same thing. Eat the chip. Whoever drinks water first is the loser. Nobody did that. And so we went for the chip first, and then we had to go like tiebreaker would be like the chocolate. We did that, but the chocolate was not as hot as the chip. And so he didn't really feel anything. And so it got to the point where it was going to be a tie, and we flipped a coin. And so he won by coin flip. That's not the same thing as being the reigning champ, dipshit. I'm just saying. Pam with the 5 says, it should be $30 worth of super chats. We hit that. Let the men eat their hot nuts. Well, all we need is 10 more. We got 20 super chats so far. If we get 10 more, then Dominic is on the hook. And I'm not even halfway through this letter. So I'm just letting you know. I've already put the mandate out. If for whatever reason we don't make it to 30 super chats and Dominic says, oh yeah, we needed 30. We only got like 28. I'm just going to say it would be an assault on your manhood to take that position. And you will be clowned properly by myself and probably my brother and whoever is participating in the live. That's all I got to say about that. Anyway, back to Boone. She has right to bond and all of this. Forgiveness for all of those who did not include me to receive my $15,000. I don't want to read her legal grievances. What is she talking about? 40,000 between 3 prior attorneys. I actually and finally got my own discovery almost 5 years later. Filed motions all prior should have done, making them the most expensive motions ever at even 46,000 between the 3 prior attorneys. Frank J. Bankwitz, Walter Hobson, Patricia Cashman. Would they have done so when supposedly representing me? The motions would have been priceless for the proper use of the JAC funds towards ethics, professional. Get a load of her talking about ethics and professionalism, honesty and freedom. I honorably utilized my JAC resources and mentorship as a proactive indigent defendant. Avidly defending myself against the liars, thieves, and real villains in my criminal case. Who really is the criminal? The JAC can hopefully include their forgiveness for them also. I could not imagine how wild it would have been if Owens would have let her read all of that stuff at her sentencing. That would have been hilarious. I wonder if the judge might have intervened at that point. So Judge Wooten and Cranic, I have great forgiveness for her also. I thought she already had forgiveness for them in not protecting me in listening to my valid request for judicial intervention so I could properly and fairly defend myself against my charges. Not only did they listen, but they read all of her motions verbatim and gave thoughtful responses to all of them. And so, again, this is just her ranting. Instead, I had to defend myself against the attorneys, all appointed by the judge and court, against their lies and exaggeration. Reason. Holy shit. Pam really wants to see we some hot nuts, Dominic. We're up to 23 super chats. She just.
I feel like there should be a limit to how many super chats one person can send.
No, don't make up the rules now. If you had these concerns, you should have voiced them at the very beginning. Pam is simply observing and playing by the rules. Al Suo Gemma sticker. The super stickers counts. That counts. $6. We need 5 more super chats so that Dominic. And by the way, Pam did another 99-cent ones. We're 5 super chats away from Dominic. Dominic, you might want to just get yourself ready, man. All right, here's my advice.
Omar did say he just ordered it, so it might not come in on time for tomorrow. So
if that's the case, I have one already at the house, and we will split it. So it's going down. We're doing some kind of a challenge, no matter what. I will go out and find a death nut challenge in a store if I have to. It's going down. especially if you get to the 30. We're at 26 super chats now. We only need 4 more. It's happening, sir. All right. Judge Cranic, I forgive you for not giving me any opportunity to stand at your pulpit, to stand at all, to explain the real truthful side of the story. I believe if the justice system, including yourself, should have done any vital homework on the already almost see-through attorneys from being spread so thin and simply sending an email to care about their present workload. She's mad that public defenders have other cases. Number of clients, trial schedules already in place before throwing another inmate defendant, unkindling client on the heaping unimportant pile of warm bodies. Wow, this lady loves descriptive prose. We have reached 32 super chats. Dominic, you're in, buddy. Jennifer with the 279. We should celebrate it with simply, there is a spicy nut. Spicy nut. Dominic is in for the Death Nut Challenge for tomorrow at 8 p.m. Be there or be square. It's going to be me, my brother Miguel, and Dominic. We're all going head to head, and we're going to see what happens. It's going to be on film. Thank you guys so much for coming through. And Dominic, ready yourself, man. I don't know what to tell you. Have some Pepto-Bismol or something. Thank DC for the 2. The crowd has spoken. The people have spoken. You got to give them what they want. You should just know that the thing that I was thinking about before I did the Death Nut thing was that you were going to send out like a selfie or post a selfie of you doing squats.
Yeah, like, that won't have happened.
But I feel like that one would be like, oh, hell yeah. And you would have given us like the gayest possible picture ever.
No, I don't give away my cake for free. So that one.
Get a load of you starting the OnlyFans. I don't give away my cakes for free. Check my link tree. Oh boy. The chat has come through. I love it. Okay. How much more of this, man? I'm on page 13 and there is 22. All right. I'm going to try to speed through this as much as I can because it's already 2:30. We got to do flat at 3. By the way, could you get a hold of, you know what, folks, give me 1 second. I got to give some people some updates real quick. Hey, Dominic, tell us a story.
I have no stories. I'm boring.
Oh, what'd you do last night, man?
Last night I did some work and then hopped on some video games with some friends. Played for a little bit and then went to sleep.
What is your game of choice?
Right now it's between Minecraft and Fortnite.
You know, my daughter plays Fortnite. I just want you to know. In case,
it's pretty popular. So,
is it still the people still playing that thing?
Yep.
Oh, flat at.
I don't know if you know, like Tyreek Hill, the football player. He plays.
Yeah.
Fortnite. He streams it too. So
playing Fortnite and not like I don't know, Call of Duty or something.
Yep.
I know that Blake Snell plays Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, he does.
And then, oh gosh, all right, this one last one. All right, cool, we're good. All right, let me power through. All right, so number of clients, trial schedules. All right, she's mad about the public defender's workloads. Forensic. Oh, foremost, Judge Cranic, I forgive you for kicking me when I was down and choking the life out of my constitutional amendments. Most profoundly, she might as well just have walked up there with 2 middle fingers and a F you on her lips. If she was going to read this at the sentencing, that's basically what this is. Pissing off literally anybody and everybody that's ever had any association with this case whatsoever. That's what this basically is and represents. So good on her attorney for at least being able to get out some of it, because this is just, gosh, the worst I've ever seen. I heard Vices earlier this morning talking about This is worse than Darrell Brooks. Darrell Brooks was the guy that represented himself in court. I was really looking forward to Sarah representing herself. I just wanted to see how that went down. She lucked out because James Owens wanted to take on her case. But in terms of just being delusional, Darrell Brooks at least knew that he was guilty. He was just trying to derail the thing, and it was a bad plan, but he had a plan. Sarah's just trying to win this with her words because she's smarter than everybody else. Just completely unhinged. But I would agree. I don't know if it was worse than Darrell Brooks, but it's certainly in the same arena as Mr. Brooks. And she didn't represent herself, but this is an unhinged, illogical, drunken sentencing letter memorandum. It's the worst I've ever seen. So there's that. She's talking about her free speech. She's talking about not remorseful. Wait, what is this sentence? In all of my free speech experience-driven letters only for remedy in any collaboration, inclusion, receiving my discovery as an inmate, defendant, and client, not refusal of any attorneys to cause more delays or any reason or excuse you may try to force on me and have already inappropriately accused me of doing prior with your heavily insinuated strategies of mine to try and deflect the glaring red flags, disappointments, and true crime in and of the justice system. That sentence was a mouthful. I mean, there's not any logic to that. What am I supposed to analyze with that? This is all discovery grievances against former attorneys and against judicial decisions that were put in place to ensure fair trial. Not a sentencing memorandum, to be sure. To this day and all forward, I do not forfeit my rights. Oh, yes, he did. He forfeited a bunch of rights, including right to new trial, including right to an attorney, including right to claim innocence, blah, blah, blah. She's forfeited all of her rights. Her only rights now are as an inmate at the correctional facility that she's being housed. Especially my right to be bold, outspoken, and write in, yeah, she has that right. She can do that. And write in my real life experience with the legal and justice symptoms. You weren't there, Judge Cranic, in anything, no meetings, phone calls, visits, and still took my rights and oppressed harder. I must now defend myself against you, praying you do not care to leave as all the others, and retaliate further against me as a still proud citizen of the United States of my America, and freely, excitedly using my God-given rights to still try and defend myself, to stand all the way up for you to remove my freedom altogether by allowing and approving my stab wound, bloody body parts, rapes, bruises, bumps, bruises, and all the rest of the beatings I endured. I hope you can finally see and understand just some of the pain from the extreme difficulties, obstacles, and unfairness, especially in my How long is this sentence, dude? Is this the entire paragraph? You have added in my criminal case and life as an inmate, defendant, and client. I was going to give her props for giving like a good football pregame pep talk speech. What it sounded like right there. She was actually doing pretty well until, take away the content, but the tenor of it, was inspiring. If you didn't know what we were talking about, for detectives, keep cell, and Lowen. I forgive their dramatization, lies, blacklisting, coercion, law breaking, solicitation of my case before I even arrive at the corrections department to be booked and fingerprinted. This can be seen in my unbeknownst interrogation video where I ask what they're doing, what all the pinging was during their texting swarm while I naively sit there waiting to be arrested, which they know would happen the day before. Oh, I know she was really upset, saying, if I knew you were going to arrest me, I would have never came. Yeah, no shits. And they don't have to tell you that they were going to arrest you. They didn't have to tell you that. They just had to get you there. And once they were going to go and arrest her anyway, regardless of whether or not she showed up at the interrogation room. So whether it was that day or the next day, she was getting arrested on the strength of that video. Okay. Happened day 4. Gosh. Copesel. Is that what it's supposed to say? Is that the guy's name? Copesel? For bald face, she has bald face. For bald face lying on the stand to the judge and court on record, she didn't tell me to come to the station to pick up my phone. Why else would I go? I didn't even know about the surprise interrogation. And she didn't have to know, is the point. Nobody cares. She went there. They're allowed to do that. I forgive them for also lying how the news showed up to record my walk of shame, handcuffed and confused on camera. I forgive them for trying to make me lose from the beginning by starting the unquenchable wildfire of sensationalism and distortion, ignorant hate, defamation, and greed by unlawfully broadcasting who they wanted the world to think I was by their schemes, learned lessons, and fraudulent stratagems from the school of manipulation and taking advantage. How much did they make off of me and still are for calling it in, then renouncing the curtain to expose their personality twisted murdering monster. Jesus. Hey, Dominic, you want to try to read? Could you do any better than I?
Probably not.
I'm kidding, dude. You keep doing your thing. Just like I read one sentence and it's just endless. Like you think you're getting to the end and then it just keeps on going and on going. Also, my forgiveness and greater gold comes from wandering when nothing viable in my defense was taken from my town home, aka the crime scene, to aid in my truth, such as the butcher knife, 5-pronged garden claw or hammer under the table together. Oh, this is actually instructive in how she thought she was going to win this case. So she thought it was relevant to introduce as evidence a butcher knife, a 5-pronged garden claw or hammer under the table together outside where George had easy access for use if I tried to leave or call for help, while being held against my will during his rageful binges, or my bloody pillowcase stained from me being backhanded because I hid the magnum-sized bottle of vodka from him. Conclusory? I mean, you'd have to lay a foundation for that, for one. Let's just talk about it. Okay, so there's a blood-stained pillow. You couldn't really offer that for the truth of anything other than there was blood on a pillow, unless you were able to lay the foundation of, for example, this pillowcase. It was a white pillowcase, correct? Yes, a white pillowcase. And this is a photograph of the pillowcase taken the day after. Is that correct? Yes. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of the pillowcase as it appeared after you suffered your injuries and laid on the pillow? Yes, it is. Your Honor, I'd like to admit this exhibit as evidence or whatever. But at that point, there would be some kind of a foundation laid for why there's blood on the pillow. For all we know, it could be a period stain. Seriously, I've seen cases where blood stains were actually turned out to be menstrual stains. And it was in false allegations of DV. Another case for another day. I'm just saying, the butcher knife, unless that butcher knife was found inside the suitcase with George, nobody, I don't think, is disputing the fact that there was butcher knives inside the house. Nobody was disputing the fact that there was evidence of weapons or that there was evidence, blah. Nobody was disputing that there was potential weapons that anybody could have used. The point was whether or not this was self-defense or not. Unless those weapons were in there with George, they weren't really relevant. And so, but this is the way that she's thinking. I'm sure that was probably explained to her ad nauseum by multiple different attorneys, but she's still smarting about it. Why weren't any crime scene photos taken of holes patched in walls and doors, some doors, missing knobs all locks, drawers removed, cracked windows, broken furniture, because those were not at issue. The allegations were whether or not you committed second-degree murder. Those were the charges. What relevance were the fact that once there was a hole in a wall that was repaired, have been of any help to the jury unless you're laying some foundation as to time, place, and context as to why those holes existed. That's how evidence works. Gosh, I'm getting a headache just thinking about having to do a consultation with this lady because of all of the evidence that she thinks is relevant and why you have to keep constantly explaining why, no, that's not really relevant the way that you think it is, unless X, Y, and Z. Let me continue. Obvious unnatural destruction in my townhome. How and why were these missed, uncared about, or not questioned so I could explain some of my terror? It makes no difference. All is forgiven. And by the way, they pretty well heard her story. They heard her speak at length about her allegations of domestic violence, and the jury was unmoved, and that's really all that matters. The fact that they knew that a butcher knife was present in the home would have made no difference. The fact that they were aware that holes that were patched up existed in the townhome would have made no difference. It is what it is. Prosecutors Mr. J and Mr. Cacciatore, my forgiveness is also extended for your inappropriate attributed narratives. I'm loosely saying that. I'm not sure if that's what that actually says. For having to go through years of my pictures, videos, text to erroneously piece together your deceitful, damning version of what really happened and who I am. After so much availability and for so long you were finally able to make the circle fit into the square. I forgive your antics, theatricals, ludicrous comments to make sure they would get their money's worth while watching with ignorant pitchforks and berating torches, hoping for the best from you, which is my world. Instead of dropping the mic, Mr. J, you dropped the bat. Oh, that was very clever, Sarah. Yay. That was very clever. You didn't drop the mic, you dropped the bat. What in the... For the yelling, finger pointing, and intense undermining to force your theoreticals and fantastics on the jury by using imaginary space, adventures, and fictional characters to blind and bedazzle them with your far, far away from the truth dramatizations. I'm all of your pieced together productions. I forgive you most for never seeing the light in people, their human goodness. I would argue that Mr. J tried to see the good in Sarah, and he hoped that that good would spring to light when he had offered her a plea deal of 10 years in prison and then a secondary plea of 15 years in prison if she would only take some responsibility for what happened. He gave you the opportunity to display your goodness and you failed. Maybe because it was never there to begin with. Maybe you should consider that. You'll have plenty of time to think about it. See the good that does exist in all of us inherently and unforced, even as the proud Mr. J stated, the kicked dog that bites. Mr. J who kicked the dog in the first place. In my wisdom, it usually best to leave sleeping dogs lie. Then why in the hell would she lock him in a suitcase and hit him with a baseball bat repeatedly and kick him down the stairs? If, in her analogy, George is the dog. We're still doing the gold thing. My gold goes out to the jury for not understanding my cracks, from being blinded from the injustice and malpractice in all of the judicial and prosecutorial errors. The very apparent violations of my constitutional rights during my case and entire trial, which caused mass confusion and dysfunction. One of those jurors was so upset with Sarah and so ready to convict when they polled the jurors. Is this your plea, juror? Yes. Is this your plea, juror? Yes. One of them, is this your plea? Yes. It's like, oh shit. That guy was moved. to convict this lady. I forgive the jury truly for being weary from this confusion and dysfunction, also from being hungry and tired and wanting to go home to their families after being away from in full capacity for 2 full weeks. I understand. From this and their brash, misguided, corrupted decision, I was wrongfully judged a murderer instead of a survivor. For this, all is forgiven. For this, I can still survive and stand tall, having an even greater, the greatest opportunity to finally be understood. Supreme Court and appeals and all of that. I didn't lose. No, he lost. He says, I didn't lose. God just wanted me to win in a different way. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. I wonder if that was in her original sentencing statement. I wonder. This is all if I'm understanding her, what she has turned this into is she is a martyr. She is Saint Sarah Boone, as one of our commenters said. And that this was all a lifelong plan on the part of God to teach her lessons in forgiveness, not in humility, in forgiveness. That is the framework of this 27-page letter, or 23 pages, or however long it is. So in the end, I forgive myself for not choosing my life sooner, for not being more brave, vigilant, bolder, and outspoken, stronger mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. This is her tripling down. For being hopeless, desperate, simple-minded, weak, and experienced. I forgive myself for not realizing I was enduring a life of domestic violence and that the vicious cycle of never ends. I had nothing to compare to. I've never been hit by a man ever before in my life. I was raised hitting a woman was wrong and should never happen. No excuse. I forgive myself for not escaping permanently, for not fighting back. This was actually in her sentencing. I remember her saying this. So I'm going to skip over it. Also, all the good days. Yeah, she read this part. I agree with, hey, good job on Larry Owens for editing, because this is probably the closest of the letter that resembles a cogent sentencing speech, testimony, or whatever. Yeah, I understand why he took out what he did. He should have took out more. I would have just took the whole thing, honestly. Maybe try to speak for her. I don't know, man. It's hard when you got a client like that. And ultimately, she dug her own grave. There's only so much you can really do as an attorney when your client insists. You know what I mean? Because technically, they are your boss. You're working for them. You're there to advance their interest. That's what attorneys are. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So Owens did that. He did the best he can. He just got the client that he had. But to be fair, he volunteered for this shit. So I don't have that much sympathy. George made me now and then always, yeah, we've read this. In all my forgiveness, George is my greatest lesson. We'll read this part. George haunts me. He is I don't think I remember this. This is her prison. Almost everything reminds me of him. Seeing my stab wound every day especially. It truly reminds me all I really did live through. George haunts me. He is everywhere. I believe because I do still love him, think of him, and miss him, laugh the most. In my heart, I know he is with me and understands that this tragedy was not intentional. I hope everyone can, his family foremost. I didn't mean for this to happen. Please wholeheartedly know that, and always, I would never, forgive me, George, forgive me, Torres family, forgive me, Judge Cranic, to the entire planet, forgive me. She did read this in court, by the way. I graciously and humbly ask for consideration. I'm not going to read the part that she was actually published. She closes it with, I am a survivor. Learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. Isaiah 1:17, Old Testament. All-encompassing, protect the abused in her 1920s style font. Sarah Boone, December 2nd, 2024. That was it, folks. That was Sarah Boone's letter. And so what to make of all of that. DSG put me on the naughty list? Really? Shit. Like, did he actually, or am I still dead? I thought I was dead. I'm supposed to be dead. Well, as far as Sarah goes, I think that we've talked about her enough. All of these arguments, all of these thoughts, all of these things that she has, these grievances that she has, I feel is never going to be corrected for her. She's going to file an appeal. She's going to lose on her appeal. She's going to tell the appellate court that it was not intentional. She's going to tell her cellmate, she's going to tell her pen pals that she didn't mean to do this, and then she's going to still be arguing these discovery violations 20 years from now, if she's still alive. Prison is a rough place to adjust to. Some people thrive and some people deteriorate quickly. I don't know which one is going to be her. She seems to be doing okay there 4.5 years in, so. Jennifer says, all right, time to play. Shower before the gummy kicks in and before Yeah, we're doing flat in about 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so. Hopefully Bruce will be in there, Brad, Schnitzel. I'm going to probably need some more participants, so anybody else wants to join in, you could call in, or if you're one of my mods and you want to join, why the F not, man, join. Text me, I'll send you a link. We're going to have some fun. It's like 3 o'clock. I'm doing it a little bit later as an experiment to see if, you know, it's family law after dark. It shouldn't be done like at 12 noon. You know what I mean? It also makes drinking whiskey a little more acceptable. All right. Let this be the end of the Sarah Boone video. But Dominic, I'm going to give you a cue. Oh, shit. I muted it, didn't I? Woo! Sorry about that, folks. Hey, Dominic, this is your cue. This little tweet. Okay. For tomorrow, for when you're editing these videos, cut this one off for Sarah Boone now. I'm going to do a bit about Lauren Neideigh and Gingras. I want that to be separate. Cut them both as separate videos and drop them at the same time. I don't care about the timing. Just the time we normally do, just drop them both. All right. Don't wait till Monday. Because last time you did that, I did it on the assassinator of the CEO. And by the time that it dropped, like, that information was already stale. It's like, well, shit. So lesson learned. Just drop them at the same time. All right.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm going to talk about Lauren Neideigh. Damn it. I didn't mean to associate that sound with Lauren. How about this one? Jesus, enough of that. All right, look. I caught Lauren Neideigh's stream the other day, in where she was talking about she's been contacted by this lady, Meg's Crime Watch. Meg's Crime Watch, I think that's her name. Meg's Crime Watch. She contacted me independently, thinking that I was Lauren's attorney. I'm not Lauren's attorney. I am a friend of Lauren's that helped her out with her YouTube copyright strike, because she was afraid, and because she was beside herself, and because she needed help. And so I volunteered, pro bono, free of charge, not representing her as an attorney, but representing her as a friend, to aid her in that copyright strike. She has an actual copyright attorney that is an actual expert in copyright law. I practice family law, civil litigation, criminal law, you know, a lot of different things, but I've never done a copyright case. And so I could give you my opinions based on my experience with it and what the laws actually state and what they mean and what they do. But my advice to Lauren's is not nearly as valuable as her actual family law copyright attorney in the state of Florida that she's been talking to. All the advice that she's been given that means anything is from that guy. And what I've told Lauren privately, and I'm saying it publicly, is that she's been accused of getting people in trouble. She's been accused of suing people, or getting people sued, or putting people in peril, or putting people in danger, or getting people arrested. Look, let me be unequivocal when I state that nothing that Lauren is doing or has done is putting anybody else in danger. It's just not. It's not the way the justice system works. It's not the way the law works. If somebody independently makes themselves the subject of a copyright claim or a strike, they are independently responsible for that. There's nothing that Lauren can do to implicate others without them, by their own actions, performing some kind of overt act. Now, I'll say this. I don't believe that Lauren is guilty of anything related to copyright infringement, copyright strikes, or otherwise. She just is not. There's nothing there. She's been threatened with litigation by David Gingras. I don't believe that Gingras is seriously going to pursue a lawsuit against Laura. Number one, because there's not really any merits to the lawsuit. Number two, because there's nothing that Lauren has that he could possibly go after. The effort to litigate a case like that, and the way that it would be required to be litigated in federal court or maybe even state level court, either in Florida or in Arizona, there's going to be jurisdictional issues with that, is not worth what is recoverable. So that has led me to believe very publicly now that, look, David Gingras is, I don't know what he is, but here's what I know about him. He wanted to be friends. He wanted to, like, me and him have talked on the phone. I have assessed him from afar. He's assessed me from afar. We have engaged in legal arguments related to his appeal that is ongoing in the case Laura Owens. He called me a liar and said I was dead to him. And he did that because he made a letter telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about on his appeal. And he, in a video that is on his channel, it was like 7 minutes long, he literally said that the sanctions that Laura Owens was ordered to pay, the law under which it was ordered, it was not viable in that case because it was ineligible because it was a paternity suit, and that particular body of law only covers paternity suits. The not parenting time, not other stuff or whatever. I forgot what he said. Anyway, he said a thing. And I was like, what are you talking about? And just the long story, the easiest way is Clayton Eckert was awarded damages in that case under 25-324, I think it was. David Gingras made a video, said that Eckert was not eligible to receive those explanations. And he gave those sanctions, and he gave some kind of a 7-minute reason why. And I responded to that and said that, but what about all these other kids? What are you talking about? And then I did like an hour-long video explaining this legal reasoning, the legal research. And he says, you're not a family law attorney in Arizona and California. I was like, okay, fine. But what about these cases in law that literally say that you're wrong? And then he made a tweet and it says that Omar is wrong. He's embarrassingly wrong. I'd like to tell him why he's wrong, but I'm not going to. So I'm just going to let the results speak for themselves. It's like, oh, so he doesn't want to. My takeaway from that was he doesn't want to seriously talk about it, which is fair because he's got legal arguments to make. And what value is it of him to like go back and forth with me? There's been various other people that have been presented with that idea that are going to do this debate back and forth. And it's like, what's the point of that? He's going to come up with his ideas. I'm going to agree or disagree. What we think doesn't matter. It's just I share the opinion that I don't think that his appeal, and I have since read his appellate brief, and it is particularly well written for the argument he's trying to make. I just don't think that it's going to land for various reasons. When he made that reply, I said that he wasn't a serious person. He's not being serious with me. And his takeaway from that is, Omar is dishonest and he's dead to me. It's like, fine, I guess that's fair enough. I could be dead to you. That's cool. I think that David Gingras is a very sensitive person. I don't know if he's a bad person. I know that he's a sensitive person. I think he's a sensitive person. I know that he grew up in a well-to-do family that had lots of accolades and lots of money. I know that he grew up and he had a rough childhood. I know that he has some character flaws that he readily admits to. And I feel like when you grow up in that environment where accolades are everything, I feel like he takes his status as being an attorney to belittle folks. Some people make it all the way up here and they do that kind of a thing. And I feel like his ego is so entrenched in his occupation that he can't separate himself from it. And the way that he communicates with people and the way that he defends himself is to threaten litigation. And most attorneys don't do that. But I feel like it's a character flaw of him born about by how he's grown up, maybe abuse that he's endured, maybe whatever the reason. For whatever reason, he feels most comfortable when he's in this lawyer arena and threatening litigation. And the problem with that is he threatened innocent people like Lauren with, regardless of whether or not there's merit to his claim. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But the point is, if there isn't, and by the way, having looked at it, I don't think that there is. The level of anxiety that it causes and the stress that it causes to people that you threaten like that is a form of psychological torture. And in me standing up for my friend Lauren, I have told her privately, and I'm saying publicly, that I don't think it's a good idea to keep on making videos of David, because I've seen how it's affected her. I've seen how, she's just beside herself. She's scared. She gets emotional. Like, what is all this worth, man? Because I feel like David Gingras is the kind of guy that is sitting there in his lair, probably ejaculating all over himself every time Lauren makes a video about him. So why give him the attention? Why even mention his name? I'm doing it because I'm defending my friend. Lauren hasn't done anything to be out of line. She is not out of control. She's not doing anything wrong. She's standing up for herself in a very scary world that she has no experience with. And because she has no experience, she's scared. And she's having to fight something that she is not even really a real fight, in my opinion, but she doesn't know that. And even if I tell her that, I can't even tell her that for sure, because what if this guy just tries to sue her? Now she's spending years of her life defending and fighting off this guy, this piece of shit that wants to use his position as an attorney to intimidate and bully folks that don't know any better. That's bullshit. And so if that's the case, and if he's not going to communicate seriously, and if he's going to continue to communicate that way, and if he, by the way, when I call him out on his bullshit, he wants to say that, oh, you know what? Omar's dishonest. He's a liar. He's dead to me. Fine. Then don't engage me then. Because if we were to when we have had these talks, I've disagreed with him to his face and said, okay, but what about this and that? And then I do it in these YouTube videos, and I felt like I did it in a respectful way. And then he says, I'm dishonest and I'm a liar and I'm dead to him. So fine. When you're dealing with somebody like that, he's sensitive. He's sensitive. And when you're dealing with sensitive folks, sometimes if you take them too seriously, it could cause you unnecessary anxiety and strife. And it's bullshit for him to use his position. And look, he even tried to say, oh, Omar's small time because he's only licensed in California, not licensed in Arizona. He's not even federally licensed. And so it's like, bitch, it costs $225 to get my federal license. I could do it right now if I really wanted to. It is not a flex to say that you're licensed federally. If I needed to file a federal lawsuit, you know what I would do? I'll call the state bar right now. I'd pay my $225 and I'd get my certificate. And then, you know what? If I was like you, I would hang it right here on my wall so people could see how accoladed I am, how qualified I am. Look at all my big degrees and my fancy degrees and my big certificates. Fuck off, dude. Nobody likes you because you feel the need to use your position as an attorney and your status as a representative of Laura Owens in a public case to bully and intimidate folks. Some people are better equipped to handle that than others. When I've tried to clap back at you, you specifically have cowered and said I'm dead to you. So fine, I'll be dead to you, but let me be the ghost of Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future. I don't harbor any ill will towards Gingras until he comes after people that I care about. And I care about Lauren Neideigh because she doesn't deserve the bullshit that she's had to endure. And you know what? If there's anybody out there that is going after her and trying to intimidate her or contact her and say that she's doing something wrong, you're playing right into this effing guy's hands and his bullshit. She's not doing anything wrong. And she's been well represented by an attorney that's over there and advised and properly. She knows the stakes. She knows the score, and she's not getting anybody arrested. And that is my official position on it. And rather than trying to attack her, I just want you to know, if you are of that mindset to try to attack Lauren Neideigh, a YouTuber, a content creator, a wonderful human being with an actual career and a profession that has nothing really to gain from. She is a person trying to make her way in the world. For you to try to come after her on account of this effing guy, bullying people, subpoenaing Reddit posts, subpoenaing, threatening random people on Reddit or whatever he's doing, and think that Lauren Neideigh is responsible, She should be applauded for standing up for herself. And because she is standing up for herself and has stood up for herself, I stand with her. And that's just how it is. And that's how it's going to be. And so I needed to get that off my chest. It's become a thing over the last week. I appreciate the people reaching out to me with their concerns. But at some point, it cannot rise to the level of creating more strife and more fractures than has already gone on in the circles that navigate around that case. You're doing more harm than good, and you're playing right into Voldemort over there, sitting in his lair in Arizona. So leave her alone or stand with her. And if you're not going to stand with her, leave her alone. That's it. That's all. Oh. All right. Folks, I'm going to go do flat. I'm going to go compose myself. Give me a couple of minutes. And we're going to do some flat and round out this week properly. I hope to see you guys all there. Hey, Dominic, did you do the thing where you filter everybody into the flat string?
Yeah.
All right, cool. When I end this stream, you guys are going to be filtered over there. I'm going to get started in a couple minutes, and we're going to have some fun. With all that said, if you guys aren't going to or don't want to participate in that, that's fine. I love you guys all. Anyway, Merry Christmas to you. Be safe out there this weekend. I hope to see all of you on our Christmas stream, probably starting at 6 o'clock tomorrow. But the shenanigans are going to start like around 8. It's going to be a long one. I was thinking about making it members only, but I want all of you to be there. So be there or be square. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dominic is going to be doing the Death Nut Challenge. Miguel is doing it. I'm doing it. Let's do this shit. It's on. Game on, sir. Merry Christmas, folks. I'll see you guys over there on Flad. Bye-bye.